am your course facilitator, Nihad Goni. This is Unit 2. In this unit, we shall discuss the various types of projectors. We shall also look at charts, pictures, models, broadcast lessons, the reasons for using educational games to teach science, and its advantages will also be discussed. This is Session 1, titled Overhead Projector, Slide Projectors, and Cine Projectors. This session will take you through the types of projectors that you could use to deliver your lessons in science. But before we move on to this objective of Session 1, let's have a recap of our last unit. In our last unit, we were introduced to teaching aids and resources. We came across the 4 classes of teaching aids, namely visual materials, audio materials, audiovisual materials, and computer-based materials. We then went on to start looking into the visual materials. We classified visual materials under printed and duplicate materials, non-projected display materials, projected materials, models, and realia. We started delving into the various types of visual materials, and we found out that examples of printed and duplicated materials were the handout and the assignment sheet. For the non-projected display materials, we were introduced to the various display boards, like the chalkboards and marker boards, the magnetic boards, and the bulleted boards. We finally got to projected materials, where we were introduced to the forms of projection, which were the opaque projection, the still display projection, and the cine projection. Now, let's move on to our objectives for this session. By the end of this session, you should be able to state at least 4 advantages of overhead projector over other projectors. Now, when we say an overhead projector, what comes to mind? Overhead projectors beam images over the user's head. They are used to show diagrams, textual or graphical images on transparencies or acetate sheets to a class or a group. The method of projection involves projecting an enlarged visual image of the original material onto the screen and then tracing the outline to show whatever details you wish to reproduce to your students. Overhead projectors ensure that students have enough projection time, and it is probably the most useful and versatile visual aid that can be used to support mass instruction methods in modern classrooms. It can be used to show both the still and motion pictures. This is an image of an overhead projector. You could see that it has projected an enlarged image of a part of a book, things like a text. Overhead projectors work in this way. What advantages does the overhead projector have over other methods of presenting visual information, like using the chalkboard or using handouts and printed and duplicated material? 1. The overhead projector works in the same way as the chalkboard and marker board, but with a greater advantage of always facing the class and being able to maintain eye contact with your students. Unlike the chalkboard and marker board, where you are always facing the board when you are right, but then you are always charged to be looking back continuously, oftentimes regularly, to ensure discipline in the class. The overhead projector does not give you that problem. It doesn't put you in such situations. It is such that it allows you to face your class throughout the lesson delivery, and so you maintain eye contact with your learners. Also, the overhead projector is very useful in expository teaching, serving as an output, non-verbal communication channel for you as a teacher, and it is also as a means of obtaining feedback from a class on how a lesson is going. Now, when we talk about expository teaching, it is basically direct instruction, where the teacher is in the front of the room lecturing, and the students are taking notes. Students are being told what they need to know. So in such a teaching environment, monitoring the non-verbal communication between you, the teacher, and the student is very important. And so the overhead projector makes diagrams, already prepared materials that you are showing. And whenever you prepare these materials, they can be used over and over again. They are yours. So you, the teacher, can have a build-up of notes and diagrams whenever you would want to use it. Other advantages include the fact that overhead projector is clean, quiet, and user-friendly, which require no technical skill or knowledge on the part of the teacher. The only thing you need as a teacher is your ability to change the position of the lamp occasionally during your lesson delivery so that you can show which particular aspect you want your students to focus on. Also, it does not require you to darken your room during projection, unlike some other projected visual aids, and so your students can take notes throughout the lesson. Let's look at another type of projector, the slide projector. This slide projector makes use of slides. A slide projector is a specialized projector which has been designed to be used with slides. Now, slides are single frame which are ideally suited for magnification and projection. They are normally transparent. They are frames of almost 35 millimeters photographic film which are mounted in cardboard, plastic, or metal binders, often between twin sheets of glasses. They are one of the most useful methods of displaying photographic or graphical images to a small class or a small group or even to individual students using the projector. Now, if you look at the diagram here, this is the slide that has been put into the slide projector, and it is this slide that contains the information to be displayed. And so in this context, the slide is your software and the whole equipment here, the machine, is your hardware, as we discussed earlier. The slide projector also projects an enlarged image onto. However, the main disadvantage with the use of the slide projector is that it requires room data. So you have to put out the lights to be able to see the displayed material very well. And this might be disadvantageous to your students. It will not allow them to be able to write when the lesson is being delivered. When the slides are being shown, students can't write because the room must be dark. Let's look at our final type of projector called the cine projector. When I say cine, what comes to mind? Cinema, right? Okay. Now, cine projectors are normally placed at the back of the class or at the back of your viewers during projection. It is normally used to show motion pictures. Now, one place you will normally see the use of the cine projector is during festive seasons like Christmas and Easter, where some Christian fellowships show movies of the birth and death of Jesus Christ at open spaces like the park. Have you ever been to such a program before? I believe you have. If not, normally up there during Christmas time or Easter time, the cine projector is used to project movies by Christian fellowships outside. Also, information services make use of the cine projector. If the government wishes to educate its citizens or the community wishes to educate its citizens on a current issue, which might be an outbreak or a social intervention, they normally use the cine project to display the whole video or the images to a group of. Some questions for us to try our hands on. State 4 advantages the overhead projector has over the other projects. We have come to the end of session 1, unit 2. In this session, we were introduced to the overhead projector's advantages over the other projects. Thank you and see you in our next